Hi, I'm Pam and welcome to my first ever Flosstube. This is about cross stitch mainly, although I will possibly in the future have some other crafts to talk about and show you. But for now I'm going to explain a little bit about who I am, how I got to where I am in my stitching journey, and rather than doing the traditional whip parade, I am going to start off with all the things I finished in 2024 to kind of give you an idea of the kind of things I like to stitch and see if they're the kind of things you like to stitch. I'm very nervous. Please be kind, please be patient. Every time I think of doing this, I just go blah, 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 out of my mouth and my brain just become disconnected. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time now, and I've put it off and put it off and put it off. And I recently watched Amy from Stitch in Pink, her first floss tube, and she started off talking about those valid reasons we have for avoiding doing something. I'm too busy, I've got this to do, I've got that to do, life gets in the way. And then she started talking about the things that maybe aren't quite as valid an excuse, and I'm very guilty of falling prey to those. My hair's not great, I need to lose weight, I need to try and have a few less chins, oh, I've broken a nail, I hate my teeth, I need to lose weight. And I've come to the realisation that if I wait until I lose weight before I film this, I'm probably going to be a corpse, and life is passing in the meantime. So I'm just going to jump straight in and do it. A little bit about me. I am 54 years old. As I said, my name is Pam. I'm here and on Instagram under Ditsy Daisy Crafts. I live in the northeast of Scotland in Moray with my amazing partner Bruce, and normally with my daughter Ailey. She's 23 years old. She's currently living her absolute best life working for the main mouse at Epcot in Walt Disney World in Florida, doing a cultural representative programme representing the UK in the UK pavilion. She's currently working in the Rose and Crown, so she is absolutely living her best life, which is really bad timing for me because she is my tech guru. I haven't got a clue what to do. I am the first to admit it. I don't know how to do the fancy intros and outros and how to put a picture up and all of that. So what you're getting today is going to be really basic. I have pressed play or record and I'm just going to let it run, and I'm going to hope that as I get into it I settle down and find my groove and it's not too horrendous. But in the meantime, Ailey, if you're listening to this, watching this, please come home, Mama needs you. Okay, so I originally started cross stitching back in my late teens, back in the 80s. And the first thing I ever did was pure impulse purchase. It was one of those little kits, it was a black cat that you stitched it, and it came with a little plastic gold looking frame with some sticky cardboard that went in it that you put your cross stitch on. And I hadn't got a clue what I was doing. I had no idea about your stitches all facing the same direction, things like that. But I loved it and threw myself into it and started doing much bigger projects quite quickly. I was doing beaded projects, I was doing a lot of anniversaries, things like that, wedding gifts. I actually made a huge cross stitch for my parents for their silver anniversary, which I had done a wedding sampler for my in-laws at the time, brother-in-law and his wife, when they got married. And it was a beautiful design. I wish I still had the chart. It was so pretty. And it had a heart with a very simple border around it. But it was lovely. And I thought that would be nice for my parents, but I decided it wasn't enough, that I needed space for 2 dates in it, not just one. So I completely recharted it with a big fancy border that had what looked like ribbon going around it and everything. So even back then I was kind of willing to push the envelope and do different things. So that carried on for a while. Unfortunately, I have nothing I can show you because pretty much everything was gifts. So I have none of my original cross stitches from back in the day, back in the 80s and the early 90s. Moved on, I got married and my ex-husband was in the Royal Air Force. We were posted to Germany and had a fabulous life out there. Absolutely loved it. I did a bit of stitching. I was fortunate that I could get some mail order stuff sent over through the BFPO postal system, which was fantastic. But life was really busy. We were having so much fun. We were traveling a lot. I didn't do quite as much stitching. And then one day when we were out there, I stumbled across in one of the American BX shops a book about memory keeping, scrapbooking, which bears no relation to scrapbooking as we know it now, but it absolutely enthralled me. So I got the book, put it on the back burner, and we moved back to the UK, down to England, and I kept thinking about it, and it was really hard to get things in those days, but I managed to find some stuff. And I started to papercraft, I started to do scrapbooking. And around that time, I very unexpectedly fell pregnant. I'd been told I'd probably never be able to have kids. And I had done some cross stitches with like teddy bears, monthly ones or alphabets, that kind of thing, just in case. So that was wonderful. I did a few little bits of cross stitch for the nursery. But I've really focused on the scrapbooking. I made it a mission to finish scrapbooking our life pre-baby before she arrived, so that I could really focus on her after that, and scrapbooking her life. And that's what I did. And I never really found my way back to cross stitch after that. So she was born in 2001. So most of the century I haven't been cross stitching. And that was that. And I stumbled across it again by pure accident. During lockdown, I found my way onto TikTok, as many of us did, and I wasn't looking for anything cross stitch or that, and randomly one day on my For You page or whatever it is, there was a little TikTok from Alicia from the Fanciful Flamingo, and it wasn't cross stitch related. It was about your children growing up and moving on in their lives, and it really resonated with me. So we bounced a couple of messages, and that was that. And then I kind of stopped doing TikTok, and it was a while later I kind of was thinking about it again. So I went and I found her again, and I discovered that she had a floss tube, and life has changed spectacularly since then. I am now absolutely addicted. That would have been summer 2023, so not quite 2 years ago. I stitch now every opportunity I can. I haven't really done any paper crafting because floss and needles and fabric is calling to me. It's been so eye-opening, the changes in what's available. Your fancy flosses, your overdyed fabrics, the most amazing range of charts. It has been like a smorgasbord of yummy, and I have embraced that fully and spent more money than I would admit to Bruce, sorry sweetheart, on charts that I now have lots and lots of, and I am absolutely at Sable stage, and need to live till I'm about 347, something like that, with just what I've got up to now. So a lot of those charts are maybe things that you've seen before, because I've only just stumbled across them recently, but there's just so much out there. And alongside that is Flosstube. What a joy, what a fantastic community. This is why I've been so desperate to do this, so that I could have a tiny little bit of that for myself. Maybe I have some crafty friends in real life, not so much cross stitchers, but all sorts of different crafts. I'm very fortunate that I am part of a crafty group that meets every week, and those girls are just, and I love that time. It's precious time. But like I say, not many cross stitchers. So I love this cross stitch community. I love the support, the inspiration, the enabling. It's just such a warm place, and I love that the internet has made the world a smaller place, that we can reach out to each other and be parts of each other's lives, regardless of geography and regardless of all those miles that separate us. So that's where I've been, that's where I'm at now, and that's my journey. So with that, I am going to start talking about what I stitched in 2024. With a caveat, the first thing I'm going to show you was actually stitched and finished in 2023. It was one of the first things I stitched, having found my way back to cross stitch, and it was mostly done very secretively because it was actually a present for my daughter's Christmas, so it was trying to do it when she wasn't around, because when she's in this country she does live with us. So that I will show you here. She's a huge Disney fan. I wonder if I can try and get it without glare. There we go. This is Sleeping Beauty's castle, which is actually the Disneyland Paris castle. She loves Disneyland Paris. She loves all the Disney parks. She lives at one. But we both love Disneyland Paris. It is probably the prettiest of the parks. It's just beautiful. And I know that this castle is very, very precious to her. So it was a no-brainer to choose it. I'm not saying that stitching on black, it's on 14 count Black Ada, was the best choice for somebody just finding their way back into cross stitch. There were words. There were several words, but it was done, and thankfully she loves it. So that was my December 23 finish. It's the only finish from 23 that I had since starting stitching again, so I thought I would show it to you as well. So that's the first one, and I'm going to try and put things down without knocking anything over. And I'm really, really sorry. It's very hard to look at the camera and not the screen. So your eyes, so I'm really, really sorry if that's a bit disconcerting for you. So moving on to 2024 finishes. I actually started 41 pieces in 2024 and I finished 38. So I do have quite a lot to show you, but I am going to rattle through them quite quickly. So please don't stress that I'm going to have you here for hours. The first is a set of 12. These are the Country Cottage Needleworks sampler of the month. They're all stitched on 27 counts, light top, Linda evenly. Sorry, I've got notes here to try and keep me right and so that I don't tell you anything that's not right. So we have 12 of these. I stitched them. They go up on a paddle board, which has got a fabric covered mount board on it with magnets. So they all have magnets on the back, and it's just a case of swapping them out every month. So that was my project, to do one every month. Every month I did one, I was like, oh, this is my favourite, I love it. And that happened pretty much every month. So we have January. See if you can see that. I'm going to try and hide behind it. And I just fell in love with the snowmen and the snowflakes. So that was the first one. And then we moved on to February. And I fell head over heels in love with this one as well. Just, oh, the pinks are so pretty. I'm not necessarily a really girly girl, but the pinks are so pretty. And it's got cake on it. What's not to love about cake? Yeah. Sorry, my seat is squeaking. It's not me, I promise. So we have March. We have little leaping leprechauns for St. Patrick's Day. Again, they're just so cute. Felicia, I'm really, really sorry if the eyes offend you. I can't do a French knot to save my life. I tried, but I love it all the same. So we have April, Easter, with the bunnies and the chicks and the eggs and the carrots. This is the one that's been up. I've had to take it off the wall to show you today. Not my normal choice of colours, but loving it all the same. We move on to May. Bees and beehives and flowers. What's not to love? Just every one of these was a joy to stitch. I thoroughly enjoyed them. They were the kind of like the first series of things I've done, the first charts of this kind, and I just love them. We have got May. No, we've got June. I've missed them. I'm terribly sorry. We've got watermelons and lemons and strawberries and all sorts of yummy, nice weather picnic things. It's lovely. Sorry, everything's lovely. I shouldn't say that. We move on to July. Not so relevant for us here in the UK, but it seemed appropriate to have this one anyway, because July is the month that Ailey actually moved to the States. So yeah, for that reason alone, it will always be a special reminder of her moving on and following her dreams. August is the beach. I live a few miles from the beach. I grew up in a village that was on the beach, and we're only about 5 miles away from that now. We're about 40 minutes east of Inverness, so only about an hour away from Loch Ness. I've never seen a Loch Ness monster, but I do admit that that water is really, really compelling. If you're there, you can't help but scan it, just in case there is something about it. So that's where we are. So very much coastal area in our little part of the Murray Riviera. Next we have September, back to school. Although here in Scotland we go back to school in August, our holidays are a little bit later than they are in England. But we've got the start of the fall colours there, which is just such a beautiful time of year. We have October, where those autumn colours are really kicking in. They are actually foxes. They don't look like foxes on there, but they are foxes, and they're ridiculously cute. But again, I'm not good at French knots for the eyes, so we just don't look at those too closely. November, again, Thanksgiving isn't very much a UK celebration, but those colours are just so beautiful. I love all the autumn tones, the leaves. It's funny, it's not colours that I would ever use for clothes or anything like that, but there's just something special about it. It's a beautiful time of the year. I actually had to send Ailey photos of autumn leaves because obviously she didn't have that in Florida, because she loves it so much as well. And then lastly we have December with Mr. and Mrs. Claus and gingerbread men. I have a soft spot for gingerbread men. It's the perfect man. He's quiet, he's sweet, and if he annoys you, you can just bite his head off. So for that reason, I love a gingerbread man. So that's my set of 12 I did the first time. I've decided that I am going to try and do a set of annual stitches every year. This year, my brain has gone completely blank. What I'm doing, oh, the name is gone. You will discover in future. So that's the first 12. The next one I stitched, I actually started back in 2023, and it's a chart that I had since the early noughties. It was designed by Jennifer L. Aikman Smith for Dragon Dreams in 2000, and I think I've probably had it since it came out, and it had been sitting and sitting, and I love it, and I never actually just got around to starting it because it was a little bit outside the box for what I was used to. But when I found my way back into cross stitch, I thought, right, now's your chance. And of course, by this point, I had discovered fancier fabrics. So I've got an overprinted fabric here. It's actually a Fabric Flare 28 count grey sketch, which I loved it. It just kind of gave the look of old walls, you know, castle walls, that kind of ancient feel, which I felt went very well with fairy tales. This is also my first time using different flosses. Most of it is flosses that I have just picked myself. I've pulled out the DMC colour chart and seen what I had, and kind of came up with my own version. The only thing I don't like is the clouds look a bit kind of grubby and muddy on there. If I had my time over, I'd probably restitch them something different, but I'm happy enough with it. I've got Krynic in here. I don't know if you'll be able to see if it glistens. There's bits of Krynic everywhere, and this, the borders in between, that is Karen Water Lilies in Sky Blue Pink, and they're all different. It's very hard to look at it and not be odd, sorry. They're all different fancy stitches, which I think is what had put me off. But but I actually thoroughly enjoy doing, and the variegation, it was beautiful thread to stitch with. And we've got seed beads and bugle beads here as well. So it was kind of a bit of everything. The only other thing I should point out to you is the original chart is designed with a Mill Hill glass special charm of a little frog, which I couldn't get anywhere. And I tried lots of different things to try and find a replacement, silver charms, all that kind of thing, and they just didn't sit right. So what we've actually got, I don't know if you'll be able to see him, that's an earring. I found little frog earrings. I'm just trying to think if I can get, so he just hangs, but he hangs nice and flat. So not what was originally charted to go on there, but it works and I'm happy with it. So that is, I can't remember, I think it's just Fairy Tale Sampler is the name of it. I don't think it's got anything fancier. And it's just mounted on board with fabric covered, and it's got those kind of Velcro stickies, and it just sticks on the wall. I was going to put a wooden frame around it, but I actually like it quite as it is. It fits in perfectly in the space that it sits in. If I tried putting it in a wooden frame, it would have been too big for the space. So that was a compromise. So we go from that to much smaller projects. Was very fortunate to go in January and into the start of February in 2024 on our first cruise, and it wasn't anything fancy. We spent 2 weeks cruising around the Canary Islands. We did the same itinerary almost twice. There was one different port, but we only got off the ship twice. We just loved it. Bruce has a really busy, stressful job with really long hours, and he works away quite a lot as well. And he just needed to decompress, and that's exactly what we did. We sat and we played cards, I stitched, we read. I drank more Baileys in that fortnight possibly than I have in the last decade. It was just lovely and relaxing. But I took some stitching with me. I took all Ada stitching with me. I was always an Ada stitcher back in the day. I was too scared to try linen. It just seemed a bit too daunting. And I thought that Ada would be a sensible choice, that we were away on holiday so I could focus and hopefully not make a mess of it. So I have 3 Cherry Hill Stitcheries for Valentine's that I can show you. We've got I Love You. We've got 14th of February, and we have got Hugs and Kisses. Now, these are probably not perfect. They were threads from Stash and that blasted black Ada again, which just, it's not the most fun to stitch on, especially in bright sunshine. But they were really good fun. They were quick stitches, they were easy stitches. Exactly what you want on holiday when you just wanted to be able to switch off. And I finished all 3 of them. It was my first time doing it with a flat fold, so that they can sit around my tier tray or on my tier tray. I don't really have much space on it with all the other things. But so I've got some seasonal Valentine's decor. So we have the 3 of those. And I also took with me some St. Patrick's Day designs. Again, these are Cherry Hill Stitchery. Again, stitched on a 14 count Ada with threads from Stash. So the first one we've got is Lucky. These have got a little bit of Krynic gold filament on them, for the gold obviously, and I love how bright they are. Again, finished as a flat fold with fabric that just, I was delighted to find. So we've got that one first. Then we have got Leprechauns Made Me Do It. I think we need an alternative version of this that said Flosstubers Made Me Do It, for our enabling abilities. But this is, it's such a different shape, and it sits lovely on a table next to the tier tray, just for something different, kind of space-wise, size-wise. And then the last one, again, is the Malarkey and Shenanigans, both of which are words that are just wonderful and I love. Finished off this and the last one with a bow and a button covered in the same fabric as the background. So that was my cruise stitching. which was lovely. Something completely different was the next thing I did. And again, this is going back to Country Cottage Needleworks, who I love. And this is a day at the beach. Now, I love this. As I've said, the beach is part of my life, part of my upbringing. And when, bless her, Ailey eventually moves out and that bedroom becomes a guest room, it's going to be beach themed. So this hasn't been framed because it's going to go in there. So I'll wait until we are doing it. This was my first time using fancy flosses. I can't speak, sorry. I didn't understand the assignment. I didn't understand about using 2 strands next to each other from the same length rather than one long length folded over to do a loop start. And I didn't understand about doing one full cross at a time rather than doing rows. So I didn't get the variegated result that I was hoping for, but I love it anyway. I would be tempted to stitch it again because I enjoyed it so much. I thoroughly enjoyed this stitch. It really was a lovely one to do. But at the moment there's lots of other things needing stitched, so I won't go back and redo it just yet. This was stitched on a 28 count fabric flare even wave called Cafe au Lait, but I decided it wasn't quite dark enough and sandy enough for what I wanted, so I did a coffee over dye on it, and the threads are DMC and Classic Colourworks. I found out afterwards what I was meant to do with those fancy flosses and have since fallen in love with them and the effect that you can have. So for a first attempt, I'm just going to cut myself some slack on that one. So the next one, again, this is something that will at some point end up on a wooden back, but hasn't yet, is Hive Rules by Primrose Cottage Stitches. This is on a 14 count Ada with my own choice of floss just from stash. This was one that I stitched at that weekly craft group that I mentioned earlier, where I figured that Ada was going to be an easier stitch when it came to counting, when I was too busy chatting and blethering and maybe not paying the exact attention I should be. I was right, and there were still a few bits unpicked regardless. But I love it. This is my first Primrose Cottage. I love their charts. I love their designs. I have lots more in stash. In fact, I've got another couple to show you today. But I love it. It will go on a backboard with some beading around it at some point, but for now it just sits propped in my hallway on a little table, and I love it. We see it every day and I'm really, really happy with it. So that's that one. See, we're rattling through them. The next ones I have to show you aren't actually cross stitch. They are black work. I'd started doing a little black work. It was a design I'd kind of made up. One of those kind of like infinite shapes that kind of like you don't understand, that they kind of twist into each other with 3 different 3D kind of effect colours on it. I still haven't finished it, but I really, really enjoyed the process. So I randomly stumbled across one day. Now this would have been, I'm just trying to think when it was. I think it was about the October. I think it was the October I started it. And it was a stitch along that had started in the January. So obviously I was well behind. But I caught up and I finished it, I think probably about the March, April of that year. And this is it. Oh, we've got lots of glare there. There we go. So it was a weekly stitch along. There's only 49 little hexagons there, but obviously you've got the border and that around as well. It was fabulous because you could do it with hexagons, or I think there was squares as well. There was lots of different borders. There was so many different designs where people missed out the centre and put different designs in the centre. There was bees and birds and butterflies and all sorts of beautiful things. I don't know if you'll be able to see if I can get it close without too much glare. They're all different floral motifs. They're all different. So it was very much a kind of garden stitch. So things like bees and that were perfect. I absolutely love this. It's stitched on 14 count Aida with Anchor Pearl Cotton number 12. First time using it to stitch with. And I just love it. The border was a bit frustrating at times. But I just enjoyed stitching this ever so much. And that goes in the little downstairs toilet, which we have since painted to match. I love that colour combination of blue, turquoise and green together. It's one of my favourite combinations. So that went up on the wall at the time the walls were just white. And I then went off searching for companion pieces for it. So I found 3. This was the first one. That last one was a steady thread stitch along. She has a most amazing designs. This one is by Peppermint Purple, who is another fantastic blackwork designer. The knotwork, it was challenging at times. Had to really keep your wits about you and make sure that your over and your unders were all kind of like where they needed to be. But I just love it. It looks so detailed, but it's actually really straightforward. Blackwork is nowhere near as complicated as it looks. And some of it's really quite repetitive. And this was one that's the same kind of motifs repeated around it. So that went up. And then I thought, oh, I've got space on another wall. What can I put there? And it was kind of like a long thin bit. So I came up with another 2 designs. The first one is a steady thread design, and this is kind of like those Scandi Hearts that you can make, that you quite often see in Scandinavian type Christmas trees and that kind of thing, made from felt, where they kind of interlock and make a little basket. And this is really simple and straightforward. It's only 2 patterns, one for the turquoise and one for the green, with the blue outline, which meant you could really kind of get a good rhythm. So again, it was a joy to stitch. This used to come with me sometimes to my craft group as well, because you didn't need a chart or anything. Once you'd started the pattern, it was just a case of continuing it. So that joined the fray. And then the last one is another Peppermint Purple design. Again, same colour scheme, sorry, and the same 3 colours, and just kind of picked random sections for each colour to do that. Now you'll see the background of this is painted a kind of turquoisey colour. It's not showing up hugely accurate there. It's kind of a turquoise, bright teal, not quite sure what I would call it. But the reason that this backing mat is painted that colour is because that's the colour of the walls. We've since repainted that room, and this is the colour of the walls. So now when this one and the other, the Scandi Heart, which are both back the same way, when they are sitting, hanging on the wall, it looks like those designs are floating because the mat board just completely disappears into the wall. So it looks like these are floating, which is a really nice effect, and I'm really happy about. So that's that set of 4 blackwork. It's the only blackwork I've got to show you. Everything else is cross stitch. So where are we? Moving on. I'm looking at my notes. The next one is another Primrose Cottage, and it's another Rules. And this is another one that came to craft group with me. And it's the Autumn Rules. This is stitched on 14 counts Aida Antique Country Mocha. Again, at that point I still wasn't convinced about taking even weave with me to the craft group and it being able to count and not make a mess. There are a few little unique moments. There are in all my stitches. Nothing should ever be perfect. But I absolutely love it. I haven't decided how I'm going to finish this yet. I've got a few months, I suppose, before it has to go up. I don't know whether I want to frame it, do similar to the Hive Rules on a board, Part of me is thinking about actually making it into a fabric wall hanging. I just need to actually learn how to do all those kind of things first. I have a sewing machine. I still have L plates, and straight lines are sometimes quite difficult, but I'm getting there. So there is that one. The next one is one I didn't actually take down. It sits up here behind me, and this is Be Creative, which is from Cotton and Twine. It was a kit that came with all the threads, and it came with fabric. I swapped out the fabric for this, which is a 28 count Swagart Springfield Sage even weave. It kind of looks quite grey, but it has definitely got a green tinge to it, and that's how I finished it. Finished it in the hoop, as it was designed to be. I've got a little bow on the top and a little bee. I've got the same bee on the Hive Rules as well, and it's just like the colours are an absolute joy. It's so bright and cheerful, and there was a lot of people stitching this, an awful lot of people all at the same time. I was quite late to the party, but there's a reason for that. It's because it's such a beautiful design. So we have that one. I'm just wondering if it will go back and sit. There we go. So what have we got now? These are some more decor items. I'm torn. I found so many beautiful charts, and I've found some beautiful big charts. I've got a set of 6 of the Croquette Go-Go in the cities. I've got spring, summer, autumn, winter, Halloween and Christmas, and I have great plans of stitching them all and having them all framed the same and having all 6 in the hallway. I have, is it about 9, I think, of the Madame Chantilly tiers. I love a tier tray, and I've got plans for those that they're going to get swapped around in the little sunroom that we've got. All these plans, but these are bigger charts to stitch. So I'm in that place of not knowing whether I want to do those big ones or whether I want some smaller items that, as a paper crafter for, you know, over 20 years, paper crafting is much quicker. You're used to having results a lot quicker. Cross stitch is very, very slow process compared to that. So part of me is kind of like that. I would like some seasonal decor, some smalls to be able to put out at the right time of year with my tier trays and stuff like that. So that's what these next ones were designed to do. I've got 2 sets of 2. The first one, or first 2, these are from Cherry Hill Stitchery. We've got Watermelon Summer and we have Sweet Summer. Really simple stitches. These were the first ones on even weave I took to Craft Club with me, and I think I did a reasonable job, not too bad. The only thing that makes me so sad about these is I've just mounted them flat. I've still got to stick on, and I've discovered those stick on kind of like photo frame backs that you can get. I haven't done that because it was after summer by the time I got these FFO'd with the gingham and that, and it's just covered mount board. And I've put green cord around them, and I had an absolute nightmare doing it. The glue that I had previously used had run out, so I had other fabric tacky glue. I can't remember what make it was. It wasn't one of the ones I would normally use. I thought, right, okay, I'll use that. I think it must have gone off because I tried and it wasn't sticking, and it wasn't sticking. So I went round and glued it and put pins in with the pins to hold it in place until that glue went off and I could take them out. Took the pins out, the glue was still wet. It just wasn't doing anything. So I've ended up having to pin it. I don't know if you'll be able to see through it, but it has absolutely massacred the cord. It has soaked up a whole load of the glue, and it's changed it. I don't know if you can see, but there's bits like there it's quite light, but here it's quite dark, and the dark is where it has pulled up the glue, and it's now quite crunchy cord. So it is just pinned in. I will be able to remove it easily. This is pinned in as well, so I'll be able to take that apart and put new cord on it for this summer. I just need to actually get the cord. And the other thing that makes me giggle about this is, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, the little watermelon button. I can't help but think it looks like one of those pigs from, is it Angry Birds? With the two eyes and little snout, and then the grumpy looking mouth where the stitching is. I can't look at those buttons without thinking that now. So we have Sweet Summer and we have Watermelon Summer in that set. Around the same time I was working on another set of 2 for summer. These ones are Shannon Christine designs. So we've got Hello Summer, and we have got Here Comes the Sun. Now these 2 designs plus the watermelon ones, they are all stitched on 28 count even weave fabric flare in Cloud Summer Sky, and it was only a small piece of fabric and I managed to eke all 4 designs out of it, so I was delighted with myself. Again, I just pulled threads from Stash that were kind of similar to the called for DMCs. For these ones I actually had generic threads, unnamed, that came with a thread store box, and it was actually cheaper to buy the box with the threads in it than it was to buy without. And I thought, it's not the end of the world if these aren't the best threads, because these are smalls. They're, you know, they're not heirloom pieces by any stretch, but they had perfect colours, so that's what I used. Again, these are just backed, ready to have a stamp put on them. I've got a teal back in that one, and this one has a lime back, but they just go beautifully together as a set. So they will be up this summer once I get the backs on. Hopefully we'll get a nice early summer and a good one, and I'll be able to get a good few months out of those being on display. Okay, so the next one I have is another bigger chart. Again, I have done my own thing with colours. This is a little dove design, a piece called Adjust Your Sails. It's a chart I got. I don't know if you can read the words clearly there, but it says, life isn't about waiting for the wind to change, it's about learning to adjust your sails, which I just love, and that really resonates with me. The original colours called for were kind of more turquoisey blues than what I would consider a sea blue, these kind of royal blues, and more traditional blues. And the thought had been I might possibly put this in our living room, which has blue accents. So that's why I changed it, and I'm delighted I did. I really like how it turned out. The waves here, there's 3 different styles of waves, and these were stitched in a variegated DMC, and I had learned how to do variegated thread by this point, so I knew how to stitch one at a time, and I love how that's turned out. It was quite complicated patterns to try and keep track of where you were, where your variegation was on your thread and that kind of thing, but I love how it's turned out, and I really need to get this piece framed and up on the wall, because it seems sad that it's sitting languishing when it should be being enjoyed. So we're getting there. We are getting there, I promise. We're not many to go. So my next one is one that I just love. I was born in the 70s. I'm a child of the 80s. And I love Top Gun. It's probably one of my all-time favourite films. Certainly in the top 5. I just love it, and I never get fed up with watching it. And I even thought they did a good job with the Maverick sequel. I'm a big Top Gun girl. So Talk to Me Goose was a no-brainer. I know there are a couple of different designs out for this one. This is the Dirty Annie's version of it, and I have finished it pretty much as it is on the chart, with a camouflage, navy colour camouflage material as gold braid. I just love it. It sits in my living room and it makes me happy. It was quite a straightforward stitch. Obviously, it's just DMC 310 and no other colours. I was delighted when the frames of the aviator glasses matched up first time. That was an achievement. I was very happy with that. And then the fill-in, it was something I could take with me to do in the car, for example. I can't stitch in the car while it's moving, but if I was sitting in the car while Bruce was off doing something, looking at, you know, tools and that kind of thing, I could crack on and get a little bit done without needing a chart or anything with me. It was just straightforward fill-in. So this is one of my favourite pieces. Quite straightforward, quite easy, but just brings me joy. Now, I mentioned earlier how close we are to Loch Ness. So when I saw this design from Needlelot, I couldn't not have it, because it really is local wildlife to me. In fact, Uckert Castle here on the banks of Loch Ness was somewhere that Ailey wanted to visit before she went off for her year in Florida. She had places that she kind of wanted to revisit from her childhood that we hadn't been to in a long time. And we don't tend to go to Loch Ness often. Bruce used to drive past it quite often when he was working over on the west coast, and used to drive the length of Loch Ness, which can be very frustrating. It's not a fast drive. It's twisty, turny, single roads with a lot of traffic, a lot of caravans, that kind of thing on it. But we couldn't not have Nessie, because she really is local wildlife and very much deserves to be protected, even if she is very, very shy and likes to hide away and not show her face to anybody. This was Needleotter. Again, it's stitched on a 28 count light blue Lagana, just a bit I had kicking around, with thread from my own stash. And I love how it's turned out, and it was actually a really fun stitch. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It wasn't particularly difficult. Yeah, it was a joy. I can't say I did the best of jobs framing it. You can see it's not very even and it's not very straight, but that's okay. She makes me happy all the same. We're almost done now. We've not got much to show you. The next one I have to show you, I don't actually have. It was a gift, so I have a photo of it, and it's little Grou. This was a silly little piece that I did for a friend who was having a really tough time. Her mum was really poorly, and she was back and forward from where she lives to where her mum was, back and forward to the hospital and all that kind of thing as well. And it's a little bit easy. I mean, that was, oh gosh, when would it be? The summer I sent this, and things started to be difficult about March. Here we are over a year later. They're still not great, but they're getting better. But she now has this little guy. She likes Grou as a little companion to keep her company in the car as she's going up and down the road, so that she knows that she's got somebody with her who loves her, to make her happy. And that is a Good Morning Maui design. I love their designs. As I said, I'm a child of the 80s, and love all that pop culture and Star Wars. I love Star Wars. So the Good Morning Maui designs, I just love. It's like, oh, you know, there's a Back to the Future one. There's just so many. When I get my spare room sorted and I can change the craft room, I might have a few that have to go in here. But in the meantime, I just look at them and admire them. For those of you who don't know, Good Morning Maui are on Etsy with PDF downloads, so really easy to get a hold of, and lots of different things. So we only have 3 left. Next we have a Clouds Factory Halloween Parade banner. Now this is stitched on a 28 count fabric flare even weave called Dusky Skies, which is beautiful, but I wish I'd gone darker. The white doesn't show up really well, and of those 4 skeletons, 2 of them were kind of meant to be in a grey colour, alternate ones, but I just thought, no, they're all going to be white on my version. But it's lovely. Again, I haven't decided how I want to finish this one. I'm debating a fabric, I can't even speak, sorry, a fabric bell pull type thing, maybe some quilting on it, I'm not sure. The original design came with 2 options. you could either have a straight across version, or there was a version that came to a point. It was charted 2 different ways. I didn't fancy either of them. I knew I wanted it with a straight bottom, but I wasn't hugely convinced with the option that came charted. So I made it up, and I've got a little cauldron here and a cat, and I don't know if you can actually see, they look like snowflakes, and they're done with étoile, and there's black étoile and white étoile in there, but they're not picking up at all. You can see them if I go close, but they're not picking up very well. So I just kind of made the bottom up. I worked out the border repeat to see how much space I had, and then I fiddled and futured and tried to make things that would fit in. Maybe not as fabulous as the rest of the motifs in it, but it works. It fills in that space below Frankenstein and his beautiful bride. And again, I really need to get this one finished. FFOing is not my strength. I very much stitch things and then think, oh right, I'll come back to that, and then I never do. So 2 things left to show you. One of them is one of my absolute favourites that I've stitched, and it's this Autumn Breeze and Sweaters Please. This is a Cherry Hill Stitchery chart, and it's stitched on a 14 count Zweigart rustic oatmeal. I just really like the finish of it. It's not, but it almost looks textured. It was a very, very soft fabric once I started stitching on it. It went from that kind of stiffness of Ada into melting into something very soft, where the point, it got to the point where if I had to unpick something, it's like, oh, it's almost like the holes have just been too big, you know, it's too soft and generous. This was stitched with the called for 1 DMC, and that was DMC 3856, and then the rest, it's predominantly Weeks Dye Works with 1 classic colourwork thread in there as well. Again, by this point I knew what I was doing with those variegated thread, and I love the effect that you get on those pumpkins and on the leaves. It's not massive variegation, but it's enough to give it some interest and some texture, and I just love it. It's in a square frame that I managed to pick up in a shop. I've got some fabric covered mount board at the back of it. This is all fabric, and then this little border around it is a sheet of scrapbooking paper, cut to size, and then it's all just stuck together. And this at the top just hooks over. See if I can get it, so that when I want to store everything away, when it's off season, it's easy for me to do that without it all getting crunched up. And this itself is just a sprig of autumn leaves and that kind of thing that came as one piece with some ribbon added at bows, although the ribbon's a little bit squished there. And there is tucked in a button, fabric covered button, that matches the backing here, and that sits in my hallway in the autumn, and it makes me smile every time I pass it. And then there's only one thing left to show you, which I finished back in December, which is this Welcome sampler, which is from Cotton and Twine. This is stitched on 28 count Sage Summer Khaki Jobeline. I'm not sure why it's called that, but maybe the khaki, but I don't get the sage. And it's a really, really simple stitch. There's only 3 colours in it. We've got a white, a brown and a red. That's all there is to it. I just pulled thread from stash. And it was really, really enjoyable. The borders are very kind of repeating, obviously. So you can just crack on with them. You know, you don't need to keep referring to a pattern, so you can get a nice kind of flow on that. And it's a lovely house with those beautiful flowers and butterflies. And even though it's flowers and butterflies and it's obviously not the right time of the year, it still feels a little bit gingerbread to me, which makes me happy. Just mounted on covered mount board, just fabric covered with a gingham on the diagonal. Again, I've got a covered button to match, and just I don't know what fabric this ribbon is, but it's beautiful and light and easy. And this is when I had discovered about these stick-on backs, to save having to do the flat folds, and you know, the kind of hinged version at the top, which is very heavy on the mount board and the fabric. This is a little bit more economic and a little bit easier and much quicker. So that is my 38 projects that I completed in 2024. I hope you have liked some of them, and I hope my stitching hasn't been horrendous and I've done a decent enough job. As I said before, I am kind of torn between wanting to do big projects and little projects. And while not a monogamous stitcher, I had throughout last year only a few whips on the go at any one time. And part of me wanted to have more to choose from, as I did. And because I've got so many projects that I want to work on and want to complete and have up. So this year I've kind of upped my whip number, which I'll talk to you about in a future Flosstube if you're willing to have me back and give me another go. But just this month, April, I'm recording this, it's Tuesday the 29th of April. I said I wanted to have a Flosstube up by the end of April, and I have literally scraped in at the end of my, very, very end of my window. And that's before I've uploaded it. There's nothing to say that I will actually manage to upload this. So we'll see. So this month I decided that I would treat the month with a theme. And I've got the next few months done the same kind of way so that I can do some seasonal stitching. So that not necessarily to have finished this year, but maybe by next year I'll have some seasonal pieces to put out, which is a double-edged sword because it's lovely having seasonal pieces, but at the same time, part of me feels bad for not actually working on those big pieces that I want to have up all the time. I have just so many projects that I just wish I could wave a magic wand and have them all up on the walls, but that's not going to happen. So in April I have worked on spring and Easter stitches. Well, in total there'll be 13 starts. I'm at 12 with a day to go, so I really need to pull my finger out and get that last one started. It's actually a restart. It's Plum Street Stamplers Spring Moon. I'm doing it on a 32 count even weave, and I started it. I normally stitch 2/2, and I did the dark part of the basket. I don't have it around to show me. I'm sorry. And I'm stitching it. I'm not convinced by the 2/2, but I continued on till I finished it, and I was like, no, it's too thick, it's too heavy. So I think there was about 500 odd stitches, and I unpicked them all. And I'm going to go back and do it 1/2, which is the first time I'll have done 1/2. But I've got a bit of a mental blank about it, the thought of going back and redoing all that. I have been putting off doing it. So yeah, I need to do that because it's spring moon, and the others have been very much more kind of I've got a couple of Shannon Christines. In fact, there's a few Shannon Christines, and what other ones have I got? Oh, why does your brain just switch off when you're doing this? You will find out in the future. That are much more pastel-y, springy, traditional colours for bits of decor I can have around. And I've actually finished a few of them. I think I finished 10 of that 13. The others will be carried forward, and they'll get finished at some point. Most of them have been really small, but I've done a lot of stitching, and I have neglected lots of other things I meant to be doing, like tidying my craft room and reorganising, and trying to reorganise a pile of stuff ready for when Ailey comes home in July, with all the extra stuff that she'll take home to have to try and shoehorn in, and all this kind of stuff. So that's my plan moving forward. Excuse me, I just... Oh, I think I did quite well getting that far. So that's the plan. Next month is going to be halfway to Halloween, and I have to admit I'm really looking forward to having a completely different colour palette to work with. A lot of the projects I've done this month have shared the same threads across multiple different designs, and I'm pasteled out, I'm sherbet coloured out, so I'm looking forward to some Halloween colours and doing something completely different. As I've mentioned, there was quite a few Shannon Christines in there with, you know, quite a few colour changes, and I'm looking forward to working on things that I actually, you know, there's not many colour changes. I can hopefully crack on a little bit quicker, and I'm not expecting to get much finished in May. There's only a couple of smalls maybe. Most of the projects I think will carry forward into October, when I'll revisit Halloween stitching. But that's the plan, and then I've got plans for the next few months after that. I do keep getting completely distracted by things on Flosstube and all the things. I need all the things, and I need them all now, and I need to be able to stitch them all at the same time. Thank you very much. Flosstube is just a joy for what it opens your eyes to. So with that in mind, I know it's been a really long time, and you've done very well sticking with me this far. If you have, you don't deserve just like a cup of coffee and a piece of cake after this. You possibly deserve something alcoholic for your fortitude. But what I thought I'd do is I would mention some of my favourite Flosstubers. There are so many. You know yourself, there's so many places you can go, and that's why, if you've watched this far, I really appreciate you sticking around, because there's so many other people you could be watching. But I have people that have inspired me over the last 18 months or so since I discovered Flosstube. People I've watched for a long time, people I've only just discovered. There are far too many to list. You know yourself, anytime you open up YouTube, you find somebody new. There's new people starting. There are so many people who've been doing it for a long time that you just stumble across. Those little happy moments of serendipity when you find somebody who stitches the things that you like or who you resonate with, and they get added to the list and they get subscribed, and you go back to them repeatedly. And I have lots of those. So what I thought I would do, I would mention some of the people who have encouraged me on my journey, be it by saying something to me, and I've interacted with some of these people, or just by what they do, have encouraged me to try new things, buy new charts, buy new fabric, buy new threads, buy more charts. You get where I'm coming from. And also finishing ideas, that kind of things. So bear with me when I go through. I have a list here so that I don't forget where I'm at. So the first person who I've already mentioned is the lovely Alicia at the Fanciful Flamingo. She is the one who is responsible for me being a complete addict and forgetting all about housework because there's stitching to be done and there's Flosstube to be watched. So it's all her fault. But she's so lovely, I can't hold it against her. So there's Alicia at Fanciful Flamingo. And what I'll do is, if I can figure out how to do it, because I am a tech doofus, I will try and figure out how to link these people below. Bear with me on that, because yeah, it's just going to be suck it and see. So Alicia. Then there's Felicia at Mouse Potato Designs. I just love her. She's as mad as a box of frogs, but in the absolute best of ways. I love the project she stitches. We have very similar tastes. I would say I've got quite an eclectic taste in my projects, and hopefully what I've shown you today will show that. But very much, I love what she stitches. She's like me. She loves Croquette à Go-Go. She loves Jardin Privé, all those kind of things. Where are we? Country Cottage, Little Cottage. I probably get them all mixed up now. But yeah, I love what she stitches, and she's just so much fun as a person, and she's so creative. I love how she takes a design and makes it her own. There's nothing that can't be stitched with cross stitch, that can't be stitched with a French knot. And I feel heart sorry admitting to her that I have tried, but I am rubbish at French knots. They come out straggly, they look like skin tags, sorry. Mine are rubbish, so I shall continue to watch her and admire her beautiful knots, particularly on her sheep. She loves sheep, and oh, all those French knots, they're just so tactile and lovely. So I love hers. Crystal, trying to put my teeth in, the Pacific Northwest crafter, PNW crafter. She's only been doing Flosstube for a short period of time compared to a lot of these other people. Maybe a year now, would it be? I'm not sure. But I love her choice of projects that she works on. She's like me, she's got very eclectic tastes. But she loves Primrose Cottage, and who can argue with that? Well, I've never met a Primrose Cottage chart I don't like. And she loves Brenda Gervais, and I would say that they are two kind of very different designers, but I love that she embraces both and fits those into her stitching plans, and she makes beautiful things. She also knits socks. I can't knit to save my life. If you give me paper, I can make magic happen. If you give me yarn, I can make chaos happen. I can crochet a bit. Knitting, not a hope. So it's lovely seeing her do stuff like that, and she quilts as well, and she makes beautiful project bags and all those things that I really wish I could do. It's lovely to watch somebody do it. So that's Crystal, the PNW stitcher. Maggie from Home on the Ridge has been a huge encouragement to me. She's encouraged me to do this, but also the things that she makes. She is so creative. Not just for cross stitch, her finishing ideas are out of this world. She goes completely out of the box in how she finishes things, and she wins every time. And her home decor is just, she's such an inspiration, and I love watching her floss tubes. So if you haven't found Maggie at Home on the Ridge yet, please go and watch what she does, because she's phenomenal. She's absolutely fantastic. Another one of my favourites is Barbara from Stitching and Tea with Bee. Her voice, I could listen to it forever. She is a wonderful person. She has so much warmth that comes through the screen. She's just lovely. She's got a very gentle but precise wit, if that makes sense. She's just one of life's lovely people, and her voice is just beautiful. I've said before that it should be available on prescription. Her voice could cure all ills. It's almost like a cat. You know how the purr is the universal sound for peace? But I remember reading that a cat purr is not just a sign of happiness, it's also a kind of a self-soothe, but also it resonates at a vibration level which they've conducted research on, that kind of, it promotes healing. It allows a cat to heal itself, to improve its bone health, all those kind of things, just from a purr. And Barbara's voice is a purr. So go and find her too. And then you've got the complete other end with Laurie from Cross Stitch Cats and Chaos. Another one who's as mad as a box of frogs. There's the cross stitch, there's the cats, there's absolutely chaos. But it's just a joy to watch. She is another person with very eclectic taste in what she stitches, from fancy ladies to Good Morning Maui and all sorts of different things in between. So yeah, there's always something good to watch. Helen D, of course. I love what she stitches. She does a lot of projects that I really like, that are kind of up my Straza, so to speak. But I love her finishing. And I've got a couple of stand-ups that I'm going to start, Halloween ones. that I was inspired by Helen D's stand-ups to give it a go, because I love how they come out. Who else have we got? Laura, Stitching at the Shore. Again, really diverse range of stitches, from huge full coverage pieces to little smalls, little trading cards that she does for swaps, all sorts of things. Massive diversity. I have so much respect for people who will do a full coverage, a big full coverage, like heads and things like that. It doesn't appeal to me. I'm far too intimidated. There's, you know, 100,000 stitches. No, I've paper crafted for years. I would like something a little bit quicker to see results. But watching somebody else do it and see it come to life, wonderful. So that you've got those huge big finishes, and then we've got Christy, Java Girl, who does lots of smalls for home decor, seasonal home decor. I love how she finishes things, and I love how she decorates. I've watched things like her Halloween home tour. It's just inspired. I have so much envy. She's just an inspiration. Although she hasn't had a Flosstube out in a little while. I miss her. I hope she's okay, and that she comes back soon. I have to shout out a couple of new Flosstubers who have both encouraged me to actually man up and pull up my big girl pants to wedgie level and do this. We've got Amy at Stitch in Pink, who I mentioned earlier, who was the one who's like, yeah, you're right, those excuses are not really valid. Get over yourself, get on with it. I watch her, and she has just thrown herself into the Flosstube world, and she's found her place, and she's absolutely rocking it. I love watching her talk about her stitching with her mum and a lot of the projects her mum's done. I don't have a great relationship with my mum. I haven't since I was a teenager. So to see somebody have that lovely relationship and warmth and light up when they talk about them is an absolute joy for me. But she's a new stitcher. That's Amy. I'm at Stitch in Pink. I would definitely recommend going and having a look at her. And Kate from Kate Be Stitching. She's another new Flosstuber who's, I think she's maybe about is it 4 and 6 in? She's quite new to the Flosstube world, and again she has just found her comfort, and you can see how she's blossoming and enjoying it from that nervous first one. I'm not saying I've settled completely, but I know that sitting here getting ready to start was kind of like getting ready to go into the biggest, most important job interview of your life, and hoping that you didn't fluff your words and do all those kind of like silly things and that kind of like driving test mouth, all that kind of thing. It's really nerve-wracking, and to see her flourish and grow and absolutely hit her stride has been lovely. So we have all of those, but there are homegrown talents as well here in the UK. Catkin at Lily, she's fabulous. If you want to know how to do something, go and have a look there, because she's got so many tutorials. She's wonderful, and her own designs as well. I came across Sally and Sarah. Sally is Flossie Sews and Grows, and Sarah at Sew Me Sarah. Last year when they were doing their 50 starts for their 50th birthday, they both did 50 starts. They did one a month that it was a shared start, and they both started the same chart, and then the rest of their charts they kind of chose their own thing, and that was fabulous to see. Again, very different kind of stitches, and lovely people, really easy and easy breezy at what they're doing, and you feel comfortable and safe watching them, because you know it's going to be good every time. And also Sarah at Sew Me Sarah. Again, she's maybe, is it just over a year into it? I think she just recently celebrated. Could be wrong. Time, no concept of it. But she's again somebody who has charts that I love. And she she comes across confident and just, you know, really straightforward and easy in her floss tubes, which I love. I like her charts, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoy watching her. Same with just so, this is where I need my teeth in, Just So Sherry. I love her charts. I love her projects, what she stitches, but I love watching her. She is so funny. It's almost like the cross stitching is an aside. She just makes me giggle. The antics that she gets up to, her stories for things that have happened to her, absolutely wonderful. Who else? We've got a couple like Charlie Feathers again. Just go and look. And one of the first people who actually I started watching was the Peachy Stitcher, who is also a paper crafter. And I think that's what first got me hooked, is like somebody who's kind of got the same background as me. She's a Stampin' Up demonstrator. I used to do that back in the day, teach classes, all that kind of stuff. And she has found her way, like many of us, back into cross stitch decades after we kind of first did it and started having kids, and life got in the way and there wasn't time to do it and all that kind of thing. So yeah, lots of people to look at. I feel bad for people I haven't included because they're all worth it. They all have things that, unique things that make you want to watch them. But I could be here forever talking about different floss tubers I like to watch. But that's a long list of some of the people who I found first, who I've stuck with, who have inspired me, who have encouraged me. Like I say, some of these people I have exchanged messages with on Instagram, that kind of thing. And yeah, I owe a lot to them because they took this hobby that I rediscovered and they opened my eyes to a whole other world. And now I can't imagine a day without cross stitching. Something feels wrong if I don't stitch through the day. And yeah, I feel so blessed to have found this wonderful little section of the universe that's just like putting on a pair of comfy slippers and just feels like home and makes my heart happy and makes me want to stitch. Stitching is so good for mental health. I find it fabulous for de-stressing. There's something about like that repetitive motion that just takes you into a zone where you have to concentrate, you have to think, but at the same time part of your mind is free to just deal with the things that are happening in life without them actually coming to the front of your head. And I find it really therapeutic for that. And I'm delighted I found my way back to cross stitch. I'm only sad that it took me so long. Even if it had been 3-4 years earlier, before lockdown, oh, what I could have achieved during lockdown. But that's by the by. I have found my way to it now. I have waffled on for an hour and 18 minutes. Oh, good grief, I'm so terribly sorry. If you've lasted this long, well done. I didn't think I would. I didn't think I'd go anywhere near this long. I'm going to have to go and have a lie down now. Actually, that's not true, because I now need to figure out how to try and upload this thing. That's going to be a challenge in itself. I am not very tech savvy. But I hope you've enjoyed even a short little bit of it. That you've seen something that you like. That, if nothing else, you've realised that a complete numpty like me can come on and talk for over an hour. And I hopefully haven't made too much of a fool of myself or embarrassed the people I love. Thankfully, there's only a couple of people I know in real life who are on my crafty Instagram, which is also Ditsy Daisy Crafts. So there's not going to be many people who find this and take the mick out of me for just doing this. But I'm going to leave it there because I've spoken for twice, if not 3 times the amount of time I thought I would possibly be here. I've done it all in a winner. I didn't bottle it. I didn't chicken out. And yeah, I hope you have liked this. I hope you've enjoyed it. It would mean the world to me if you hit subscribe and that little bell button, the alert button. And just like this video so that I don't feel like I'm alone howling into the wind and nobody's hearing me. Hopefully I won't get horrible feedback. This is not the kind of group that does horrible feedback. Most flosstubers are absolute diamonds and very precious, lovely people. I shall leave you for now. I will hopefully be back within a couple of weeks maybe with what I stitched in April. I'm not planning on doing floss tubes every couple of weeks, maybe once a month with what I did the previous month. So that would be the hope, that I will come back some point in early to mid-May and have a much shorter floss tube with the projects I touched in April. Plans, like I said, I'm not going to be doing haul, mostly because I've already bought so much that it's already tucked away. I have charts to keep me going for ages, so I don't plan on getting much haul moving forward, she says. Don't hold me to that. So yeah, that's the plans. And this, I'm not doing a very good job of saying goodbye. How do you end this? I will end this by saying thank you for your patience. Thank you for your time. Both are hugely appreciated. I wish all of you well. I wish you lots of stitchy time, stitchy happiness. No visits from the frog. That frog's a bit naughty. No visits from the frog. And I wish you happiness and health. And I hope to see you again soon. Take care.